Hey everybody, this is Olga with AskYourSoul.org. Today I wanted to talk about something that's been kind of on my mind for quite some time now. And I really just wanted to address this because I don't feel like I've seen too many videos on this, to be honest. So it's been many years since I became aware of conscious manifesting, and I feel like it all kind of started with Wayne Dyer for me, and then The Secret, the movie. And I've used it here and there, this whole law of attraction stuff, and I saw some results, but very inconsistent. So I feel like it wasn't until I came across the law of assumption and Neville Goddard's teachings that I became a lot more serious about conscious manifestation, about truly learning how it works and like really using it in my life. And as much as I love using it, and as much as I can see that it really does work, and not just for me, but like for a lot of people who are using it, I just feel like there's also this kind of like stigma or even this culture of not necessarily blaming the victim, like if your manifestation doesn't work, but it always seems like when somebody says, well, my manifestation didn't work, like I'm not sure what to do, it just always seems like that person gets blamed for some reason, at least like from my experience. Of course, I'm sharing just my own experience. But it just seems like, when I read those forums or like watch videos on this stuff, it's always like, oh, well, it's just your self-concept, or you're just not trying hard enough, or your mental diet is off, or this or that or whatever. So there's always this reason why this poor person is not succeeding at manifesting, even though they're like truly, really trying hard, okay? And this really reminded me, to be honest, of when I was really struggling with health issues and I was trying anything I could get my hands on, okay? And anything I read about, and I tried like a million different supplements and diets and all this stuff. And so, of course, inevitably, I came across this concept of detoxification. So you have to detoxify your body. You have to get rid of your toxins before you can truly heal. And while it does make sense overall, that concept, there are so many freaking things to consider. Maybe your body, for example, is not ready to detoxify right now. Honestly, like maybe you're just not in that state yet. Maybe this specific detox doesn't work for your specific body. So I just feel like the more I read about that stuff, the more guilty I felt, because I'm like, well, this is not working for me. And I mean, you guys, out of desperation, I've tried everything, okay? Like everything you could possibly think of. And I think I've even mentioned this before in one of my videos like a while back, that I even ended up doing a dry fast, which is a fast where you can't eat or drink for an extended period of time, which I highly do not recommend to anybody. Well, actually, I do recommend fasting, just being super careful about how you go about it and researching about it, and preferably doing it under observation of a doctor that you truly trust. Anyway, so in my case, not only did it not help me, but it actually, I feel like it really hurt me in many ways physically, and especially my metabolism. It was just a mess. Anyway, but it was just one of those things that obviously, like, there is no way a human being would try something like that unless they were absolutely freaking desperate for a solution. Anyway, so my point being, just like with this obsession with detox and how if you're struggling, it's just your detox symptoms and you're just really, you just have a lot of toxins in your body. You know what, like, when people say that shit, do they really truly know you, your experience, your body, what you're going through, how you have been operating and eating and all this other stuff? They don't know shit, okay? They're just sharing what they freaking know about how they healed maybe. Maybe they did not heal, That's another question too. But anyway, so with manifestation, I just feel like it also gets to this point where if something is not coming true in your life that you really want, you're always blamed. And I just completely disagree with that. I feel like there is some truth in that in terms of Yes, you have to consider your self-concept, for sure. You have to really work on your mental diet, of course. You have to try all of these things, and you have to try them long enough to actually see the results, Even if the results are not like huge or anything, but it's something that you can at least say that you've tried and it worked in some capacity. However, if you've been trying really, really, really hard, if you've been giving your heart and soul to conscious manifesting and to learning all about it and to using these techniques and reading up on it and just doing everything you possibly can, and it's still not coming true, I just really, really want you to know that it's not your fault. I want you to stop blaming yourself. Because here's the thing. When I first started really consciously manifesting and really working on the stuff and really learning all about it, my grandpa died shortly thereafter. Just a few short months after I really started using this knowledge to consciously manifest in my life. And it just happened so suddenly, and it just kind of rocked my world. And of course, inevitably, after hearing all these concepts such as everyone is you pushed out and taking on so much responsibility upon yourself for manifesting literally everything in your life, I couldn't help but wonder how the fuck did that happen, that my beloved grandpa, whom I loved, respected, and just adored, would pass so suddenly. I mean, obviously he was old, but his health was, for the most part, it was really good. And I was kind of in a state of disbelief for a while, and it just almost made me kind of not want to even try manifesting again, because it's, in a way, it kind of scared me. I was like, why did this happen? How the hell did I cause this? And this is when I wish we would have more videos saying that you do not manifest everything, okay? You just don't. While we are a part of God, and in a way we are God, there's so much we don't know about. Come on, you guys. We can't be naive enough to think that anybody who lives in this world, who is in a human body, truly knows how the universe operates, how it all works, what actually happens. We can't possibly know that. I mean, the only way I know anything about the afterlife is from stories of people who had near-death experiences, which, I mean, it's one of those things that I am fascinated with too, as much as manifestation. And I've listened to hundreds and probably thousands of stories of people who have passed and come back through a near-death experience. And now that with technology, obviously, it's a lot easier for us to get these stories nowadays than ever before. So in that way, we're kind of lucky that we get to find out all this knowledge. But still, even that, I still have a ton of questions, you know what I mean? And there's still a lot to discuss. There's still a lot to address and wonder about. And that's why, as much as I love the fact that consciously manifesting requires us to take on a lot of responsibility for our mental diet, for our self-concept, and just for our thinking, for ourselves, which is great. I still do not believe, and it just doesn't resonate with me, this idea that we control absolutely everything. So that's why I wanted to talk in this video about the things that we actually truly can't control. We just can't control them. And kind of go into this to make people who are struggling with this stuff kind of ease up a little bit about it, And to realize that, yes, while we can control a lot, truly a lot of our life and reality, there are still things that we absolutely cannot control as a human being. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing in terms of manifesting. It just means that you're human. Trying to use this spiritual knowledge to manipulate reality. And there are certain parameters that we can operate within, and there are certain things that we are allowed to manipulate and certain things that we are not allowed to manipulate, especially as humans. Maybe we are allowed to manipulate them as souls, for example. So in terms of what we can control, obviously death is definitely one of those things. And even Neville, from what I remember, he said something like everyone has their own appointed hour in terms of when they're born and when they die. So it's just one of those things that you can't. And I remember he was trying to save someone. I think it was his nephew, but I'm not totally sure, so don't quote me on that. But I believe it was his nephew that he was trying to save, and inevitably nephew still died. And Neville goes into this whole thing about what happens in the afterlife, which is also arguable. But the point being, death and birth is something that we don't truly have control over. Another thing we can't really control, and this is something that you'll hear again and again, and it's not really emphasized, but I think it's important to remember that we can't control when our manifestation comes true. And yes, sometimes like people try to control the timing, but from what I've seen in my own experience and just in general, like from other people, it doesn't seem to work very well. Like maybe sometimes it might actually work, but it's a hassle for sure. Like it's very unlikely that timing-wise it's going to work out exactly like you want it to, okay? So we can't control the timing of our manifestations. We can't control how and when that happens. And also, I really want to add this, that some people who, especially as children, they go through just horrific traumatic experiences. I absolutely, not for a fucking second, believe that they manifested that shit. I'm sorry, like, it just absolutely does not resonate with me. And I think that it's fucked up to even tell people that it's all because they manifested it. Like, especially kids, are you fucking kidding me? No, absolutely not. Or, for example, if someone is born with like severe disabilities, whether they're mental disabilities or physical disabilities, did they manifest that somehow in the womb? You know what I mean? That shit, I'm sorry, like I just get really heated up about this because I feel like it's an important topic that does not get enough attention. And it's just not fair to the people who have gone through like horrible shit, especially as children, as like innocent beings, and somehow they're still blamed. This victim blaming bullshit. So my next question is, then who does control this? Because here's the thing, when you study Neville's teachings, it becomes clear, like he makes it very clear that we manifest every little thing, everything. This is why I had to chime in and say like, hey, I don't think so. We manifest most of it, but not everything. And I'm not like an avid reader of Neville's teachings, so I only know limited amounts of his teachings, and I'm just sharing what I do know. But either he never really addressed that stuff, or he did address it and say that we manifest everything. Anyway, here's my kind of take on it. I believe that as human beings, we are absolutely limited in terms of what we can and should manifest, for a reason. Because some of the shit that we think is good for us may not be good for us at all. And some of it we still will be able to manifest, but some of it is just not gonna happen. And that's probably for the best. But anyway, coming back to the question of who does control that stuff, who actually manifested that for us. This is again just my personal opinion. I believe that it is our higher self that decided upon things like, having horrible traumatic experiences in the beginning of our life, or being born with severe illnesses or disabilities, or even not necessarily born with them, but just like developing them later in life. Because I'm sure you've heard of people who are overall happy and have a great outlook on life, and they still got sick and they still had to go through that experience. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a lot more complicated than we think. So I do tend to believe that it's our higher self that kind of pre-plans those things before we come to this planet to live in our human body and to experience certain things. But we do need this contrast, you know what I mean? We can't just... What's the point of living a perfect life? We have to have some kind of contrast, because I feel like that's the whole reason why we even incarnate on Earth. Otherwise, there's literally no point from coming here, as a spirit being. Like, why? Why would you even need to do that other than to have this experience, to learn, to go through these really tough things, really tough situations, and to figure out, hey, a lot of this I can actually control with my thoughts. I can actually create my reality. That's true. But some of it, you're just kind of faced with because you have to go through that experience for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, if you can reframe this experience and make the best of it and see the lessons that you have learned from it and kind of let it propel you instead of letting it completely take you down and get you depressed, if you can do that, then it was all worth it. So I guess the main point that I'm trying to convey here is that please don't be too hard on yourself. Like, if you have really fucked up circumstances in your life right now and you keep thinking, how the fuck did I manifest this? Why would I do this? Chances are you did not manifest this. Maybe some of them you did manifest literally with your thoughts, and you can kind of backtrack and think about, hey, what did I think about this? How did this come to be in my life? If you can backtrack your thinking and realize what thoughts have contributed to those circumstances, that's great. That means you can also manifest a different reality for yourself, and now you know where to start. But at the same time, when it's something that, let's say something you were born with, or something you had experienced as a kid, then absolutely do not let anyone tell you that you just somehow manifested that shit. Please. Don't feel guilty about it. Do what you can about stuff that you can change and stuff that you feel like has resulted from your negative thinking. Definitely work on that, for sure. I mean, you're still manifesting a lot of your reality. I just don't want you to get too hung up on the stuff that's been really traumatic, that's been making you feel guilty. There is no reason for you to feel guilty, honestly. There's just none. And you know what? Even if you did fucking manifest something that's really, really bad for you, just the fact that you now know that you can manifest a different reality for yourself and you can change your way of thinking, maybe that was the lesson from that situation. But there still was some kind of a lesson, I guarantee you. It wasn't just a random, like, negative thinking bullshit that happened. Most of the time, at least. And plus, let's not forget that there's also collective consciousness that also kind of works as a pendulum. If you're familiar with Vadim Zeland's teachings, he talks about pendulums. I'm not going to go into all that right now because it's going to be like another half an hour. But the point being, there are a lot of things at play here. It's not always just literally our thinking, okay? And while our thinking does create our reality most of the time, and it has a huge impact on pretty much everything and everyone in our lives, there are certain things that we can't control, and that's okay. There is no reason to blame yourself for it. There is no reason to feel guilty. And it also doesn't mean that you can't manifest a different reality for yourself starting now. So, yeah. So I feel like that was kind of my main point. Sorry to to ramble on and on about it. I was just trying to cover all the points I was trying to make. Hopefully I did that. And yeah, I guess that's it. And I just hope that after this audio, you feel a little bit better about yourself and about your life. And this encourages you to keep on trying, to keep on manifesting, doing the best that you can, not giving up, but also not ever blaming yourself for the shit that didn't work out, for the shit that went wrong, and especially for something traumatic that actually happened to you. Stay strong, keep on manifesting, don't give up. And thank you so much for listening and for your time. And I'm honestly wishing you all the absolute best. You got this. Okay, bye.